This 1993 masterpiece, directed by Zaillian, is not truly a sports movie. It is a moral fable that uses the 64 squares of a chessboard as a battlefield for a young boy's soul. The title itself is the central ghost that haunts every frame. The film is not about Bobby Fischer, the real-life, tortured, and reclusive American world champion. Rather, it is about the search for him, or, more accurately, the terrifying, desperate search for the next Bobby Fischer. It is about a culture, personified by a father, that has seen the pinnacle of isolated, destructive genius and, tragically, decides it wants more. The film asks a devastating question. What if the next great prodigy is not a monster of ego and paranoia, but simply a good, empathetic child? And in that case, to make him a winner, must we be the ones to destroy him? We are introduced to this dilemma through the eyes of Josh Waitzkin, played with a luminous, natural innocence by Pomeranc. Josh is not a brooding obsessive. He is a normal, happy kid who happens to see the game of chess with a supernatural clarity. He discovers his talent not in a sterile academy, but in the chaotic, vibrant world of Washington Square Park, a concrete jungle of hustlers, vagabonds, and speed chess fanatics. This is where he meets his first, and perhaps most important, teacher, Vinnie. Vinnie plays by intuition, by street smarts, by the feel of the game. He represents the joy of chess, the art, the gamble. He teaches Josh to play fast, to trust his gut, and to never, ever bring his pieces out too early. But the moment Josh's talent becomes apparent, the machine of ambition awakens, primarily in his father, Fred Waitzkin. Fred is not a villain. He is, perhaps, even more tragic. He is a sports writer who sees in his son a spark of greatness that he himself never possessed. He loves his son, but his love becomes entangled with a powerful, dangerous fear. The fear of wasting the gift. He is terrified of making the wrong move as a parent, and in his desperation, he nearly smothers the very thing he seeks to nurture. Fred's journey is the search for a rulebook for raising a genius, only to discover that none exists, and that his attempts to follow one are the source of all the conflict. This fear leads Fred to hire the film's other great teacher, Bruce Pandolfini. Pandolfini is the anti-Vinnie. He represents the cold, formal, correct world of classical chess. He teaches in a silent, sterile room, drilling Josh on the historical games of masters. He is the voice of rigor, strategy, and, most importantly, the Fischer-esque philosophy of contempt. Pandolfini believes that to be a true champion, Josh must not only beat his opponents, he must hate them. He must learn the killer instinct. He attempts to surgically remove Josh's greatest strength, which he sees as a weakness, his empathy. When Josh feels sympathy for a crying opponent he has just checkmated, Pandolfini is not proud, he is alarmed. This creates the film's central, tearing conflict. Josh is caught between two worlds, two philosophies, and, in essence, two fathers. Vinnie wants him to play the game. Pandolfini wants him to master the game. Vinnie wants him to be an artist. Pandolfini wants him to be a scientist. Josh's mother, Bonnie, sees this clearly. She is the only one who fights not for his chess career, but for his childhood. She is the one who understands that the search is a corrupting force, asking her son, he's better than all those players. But is he better than all of you? She is fighting to protect the boy, while the men around him are fighting over the prodigy. The cinematography by Conrad L. Hall is essential to this theme. He masterfully translates the internal, psychological pressure of chess into a visceral, external experience. The camera doesn't just watch the game, it participates. It pushes in on the intense, terrified faces of the children, isolates the pieces on the board until they look like lonely soldiers in a vast war, and captures the oppressive silence of the tournament halls. The film's most stressful moments are not about a clock ticking down, but about a father's disappointed gaze from the sidelines, or a teacher's rigid disapproval. The climax of the film is not just a big game, but a complete philosophical resolution. Josh arrives at the national championship a boy fractured by pressure. He has been taught by Pandolfini to despise his opponents, yet his nature compels him to be kind. He has been taught by Vinnie to play fast and loose, yet he has been drilled by Pandolfini to be meticulous and slow. He is in a state of crisis, losing his love for the game because the adults around him have turned it into a referendum on his worth. His final opponent is the film's apparent villain, Jonathan Poe, a boy who is the perfect product of the Pandolfini-Fischer method. He is isolated, merciless, and trained by a teacher who explicitly tells him to treat his opponents like garbage. He is what Josh is supposed to become. But in the final match, something remarkable happens. Josh, on the verge of defeat, stops trying to be the player his father wants, or the player Pandolfini wants. He retreats into his own mind and finds the synthesis of his two teachers. He channels the intuition and creativity of Vinnie combined with the strategic depth of Pandolfini. He doesn't choose one, he integrates both. He becomes himself. And in the single most important gesture of the film, in the tense final moments of the game, Josh offers his opponent a draw. This is the moment the entire film has been building toward. It is a rejection of the killer instinct. It is a rejection of the contempt that Fischer represented and Pandolfini tried to teach. It is a pure act of sportsmanship, of respect, of empathy. It is Josh proving that he is a good person first, and a great chess player second. When Ko, in his arrogance, refuses the draw, Josh promptly checkmates him, proving that kindness and strength are not mutually exclusive. He wins, but more importantly, he wins his way. Searching for Bobby Fischer is a profound answer to its own title. The search was a mistake. The world did not need to find another Bobby Fischer. It needed to find Josh Waitzkin. The film's final, beautiful shot is not of Josh holding a trophy, but of him at home, the pressure finally lifted, playing with his father. Fred has finally learned that the most important thing is not to nurture the genius, but to love the boy. The film argues, with heartbreaking eloquence, that true victory is not about crushing your opponent. It is about finding a way to win without losing your own soul in the process.